Hey everyone, I'm back, and today we're going to be talking about Bad Boys 2, and this movie is directed by Michael Bay, just like the first movie, and this movie came out 8 years after the first movie in 2003. First one came out in 1995, and I enjoyed this one more than the first one, despite it being half an hour longer than the first movie. And the first movie to me was just kind of dull and boring and forgettable, whereas this one I find it to be more memorable despite it being 2.5 hours long. And this movie does offer quite a bit of action in it, and that is really what kept me going throughout this movie. And there were some jokes that I liked in this movie that I found to be kind of funny. I do, in some ways, think this is an improvement over the first movie. I'd still have some of the same issues with the first film, but I do feel as though there were improvements that were noticeable, at least to me. And I like that it was more violent this time around. That was something that helped out my experience. And there were some shots where it wasn't super close the entire time. You could actually see the entire room and the location. And it's overall a better looking movie than the first movie. And the editing, there's a lot of cuts, but it's not to the point where it gives you a headache, fortunately. And for at least the first half of this movie, I was really into it. But then there comes a point, in the last act, where I was starting to get bored of it. And it kind of just went on for way too long. And that would be my biggest gripe with the movie, is that it didn't end very strong. And it does go on for way too long. And the characters, I'm not super attached to any of them, but they're entertaining for me to watch. And Will Smith, I liked him a lot better in this movie, where his accent wasn't all over the place, or noticeably to me this time around. And Martin Lawrence, I liked him also. I thought he was fun. I also really enjoyed the tone of the film. Unlike the first movie, I was more into it, or at least for the first half of it, and then it started slowly losing my attention as it went along. And there's some subplots in this movie that I can do without. And Martin Lawrence, his character is thinking about leaving, and there's this whole subplot about that, and that doesn't never needed to be in the movie. And there was plenty of bad comedy that I didn't really enjoy, and there was also some flashbacks in this movie that I was kind of taken off guard by early on in the movie. And it doesn't happen throughout the entire film. It's mainly just early on in the film, after Martin Lawrence gets shot by Will Smith by accident, which was kind of funny. And one thing that kind of bugged me about this movie, and it's not throughout the entirety of the film, but it does get brought up every once in a while, and that would be references to the first movie. And I just found that to be a little distracting, and it made the film feel a little unoriginal. Even though this movie is very reminiscent to the first movie, it does feel like you're getting more of what you liked from the first movie. It's Bad Boys, but with more in it. Mostly because it's longer, and it does feel like it's delivering on what you would want, probably. And it's just more comedy, more action, and it's just more of what Michael Bay does. There were also plenty of characters in this movie, but none of them got annoying to me somehow. And I was fine with the characters. The villain, I was fine with. I never found him intimidating, but he was never annoying to me personally. And overall, there just wasn't much for me to hate about the movie, or dislike all that much even. But in terms of me personally connecting to the movie, it just wasn't one of those movies that I connected to. But at the same time, I'm not upset that I watched it. And I'm kind of torn whether or not to revisit the film or not. I would definitely watch this movie over the first one. I haven't seen Bad Boys for Life yet, and I don't really want to watch that, but This one I'm more likely to revisit over the first one. There was more that I liked in it. It was less boring. To some extent, it was better paced than the first movie, and overall, I would say it's an improvement, and I liked it. I would recommend that you check out Bad Boys 2. Even if you didn't like the first Bad Boys all that much, I think this is better. And I know that sounds weird, recommending the second movie over the first movie. Like, the first one I wouldn't really say is worth your time, whereas this one, the first half I would say is worth your time, but I don't know about the second half. Like, if you make it that far, then you might as well just watch the rest of it. And with all that being said, I'm going to give Bad Boys 2 a 6 out of 10. Thank you for watching my videos as always. If you enjoyed this review, be sure to leave a like and comment down below what you thought of Bad Boys 2, and my social media links, they will all be in the description, so follow me there. And last but not least, subscribe to be a part of Foley Nation, and I'll see you when I get my next review up, and that is going to be for Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. So look forward to that, but until I get that up, thank you for watching and have a great day. Ignore the spider. Well, you probably can, I can't. Okay, that just looks creepy.